Hello, everyone. Here with Rob, who's a very, very successful agent and a business owner. He's been in our program for around what, 6 months or so, right?
Yeah, about that.
Sweet. Rob, why don't you walk us through some of the results you've seen, say listing wise or so?
Yeah, sure. So we've just listed our sixth listing has come in 6 months, which for us is, yeah, we're pretty impressed with that. Anyone who's done digital marketing over the years will probably know that it all sounds good, and then once you've got the ads rolling, it's a little more challenging to get good quality leads in. So, Mo, we've done a ton of digital marketing with God knows how many different agencies over the years, and everyone talks a big game, but yeah, first time we've had somebody deliver on average, so not every month, a couple of months to get things up and running. But yeah, six in the first 6 months, and I think four in the last month. So they're
Yeah.
really starting to come in now, with plenty more in the pipeline by the look of it. So yeah, we're really happy with that.
Yeah, you guys have tried a ton of marketing agencies. I remember you told me like before on our initial call,
Hmm.
you told me like a crazy number of like agencies you've tried over the years.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I started the company 15 years ago, and I guess you could say we've been doing Facebook ads and digital ads that whole time.
Yeah.
Anyone who was using Facebook back then would know that was before it was even competitive, and it was
Yeah.
quite effective then. We used to get a lot of leads, and then over the preceding years, and we're talking, maybe only 2 years after we started the business, more and more businesses, particularly real estate businesses, property marketers, this sort of thing, started marketing on Facebook. And it got increasingly difficult to generate leads there. And so we started looking at different companies who were claiming that they were the best in the business. And, we must have tried well over a dozen companies. I'd say probably 20 different companies. Some people would say you got rocks in your head to keep trying something that isn't working. But, I kind of figured that there's other businesses that successfully generate good cash flow positive, marketing. So we wanted to be able to crack that in the real estate business. As I've said to you, Mo, we've got plenty of other methods that are really quite effective.
Yeah.
And we get a good ROI on that. And one in particular, the secret weapon, we sort of measure everything against that.
Yeah.
And digital has just never stacked up, but we're now starting to see green shoots. And last couple of months we knew that this was coming. We could see the leads were there, and we could see that they were coming on board. But it's nice to have six listings for your marketing spend,
Yeah.
because now it gets to that interesting point where we can start playing with bigger budgets, seeing how much we can scale this up. So yeah.
And it's gonna be cool once we start doing some fancy stuff because right now we're keeping it simple, just straight up
Hmm.
lead gens, get some high quality leads. But a lot of agents don't realize this, but with paid ads, you can do so much fun stuff in terms of we like what I'm gonna show you next is propaganda ads, where it's like we start to build a little bit more trust, start to kind of brainwash homeowners, if you will. But we'll jump
Every
into that.
agent's dream.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can do all this
Yeah.
with paid ads, but it's just, I saw a statistic. It was like 98% of ads don't work, but the 2% do. It's like they can be really effective, and when they work, they are crazy, but most people just can't nail it down, which is good.
Well, I mean, you can look at the amount of money that we've spent on digital over the last
Yeah.
10 years, and your stats probably ring true. Like 98% of the dollars that we've spent on digital have not worked, have not given us a positive ROI, and so that's why I was skeptical when we first met. Like I
Yeah.
say, you were talking a big game, and everyone does. You got to sell your product and service, but no, we had a good chat, and you listened and sort of understood that this isn't something that we're not just dipping our toes in here. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. In one year, we spent over 100K on digital in a single year, and got a net negative return on that marketing spend. And you can't, that's not sustainable. And so we look at it and sort of thought, well, we started thinking that maybe is social only going to be good for advertising ourselves, brand awareness, that sort of thing, where there's not really an easy way to quantify your marketing spend. Now, my degree is in marketing. I kind of look at it and thought, well, that doesn't make sense. Even
Yeah.
big brands that are marketing their brand want to be able to quantify their marketing spend. And everyone who's come before you has said, oh, absolutely, you should be able to quantify this. We do the numbers and we go, okay, we're quantifying this as a loss. So that's the end of the line. And so No, we're really glad that this has gone the way it has. Like I say, you took the time to listen and understand. Okay, it's not that we didn't do it for long enough or that we didn't spend enough. Like we've been down that path many times.
Yeah.
I didn't bat an eyelid when you said this was going to take 3 to 6 months, but if we get 12 months down the line and we're still negative at that point, it's,
It's messy, yeah.
we've got to chalk that up and say this is not working. And I've been there several times before.
Yeah.
We've tried the guys that guarantee leads, and
Yeah.
so you pay up front and they guarantee a certain number of leads each month. Um, we've tried several of those. Some of them, the leads were just really, really poor quality. In fact, on one occasion, this guy was marketing, and I just said, "Look, you've been going for 2 weeks. You guaranteed X amount of leads this month. Here's the leads I've generated myself, about 30 of them in that 2 week period, and you've generated three. What are you doing?" And he just said,
Yeah.
"Never mind, we'll just refund you your money." So,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've had some interesting experiences with digital, that's for sure.
How do you find the quality of our leads in comparison? Like, what do you feel like is the biggest difference from everything you've tried?
Hmm. Quality is good. A lot of the inbound leads that we generate ourselves are probably a little more skeptical. I'd say the leads that you've been generating, the feedback from the team is that they're really receptive, particularly over the last month or so. I know you sort of said, look, we're going to tune it back so that we're not going for as much volume, but going for a higher quality lead. And the guys have just been saying, yeah, everyone is welcoming them into the home. And for us, that's a great avenue to have leads because not all of our leads are going to be like that. Some of the leads that we generate, people are expecting us to, wave a magic wand and get them some outrageous result. And some are very much a longer term thing where, sure, you'll be invited in, but we're building a relationship with them over a number of years. And don't get me wrong, plenty of that in the leads that you've generated, people that are just at those early stages and wanting to maybe get an update, but we're going to nurture them for 6, 12, 18, 24 months. And that's real estate. I think everyone knows that. But we're getting a good mix of people that are just inquiring and doing their early stage research, and also people that are ready to go. And in
Yeah.
fact, I think a couple of the people that, and that's why we've had a good month with your leads this month, because we've got stuff that's been nurtured as well as the stuff that has just, it's
Yeah.
ready to rock and roll, and we've signed it up on the spot. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're happy with that. The quality of the leads is great. That's something I'm always skeptical. I never necessarily want to take that guidance from the salespeople. Salespeople they'll tell you that every
Yeah, that's
lead
so true. Yeah,
is
yeah.
there. So I want to have a look at them and really understand, okay, what are they calling a shit lead? What are they calling a good lead? Um, but I've even got the salespeople telling me that these are good leads. So
Yeah.
I don't even have to wonder if they think they're good leads. So yeah,
Yeah.
the leads are a good quality. Yeah.
Plus, like the keep in mind, this is working really well because you have amazing salespeople. Like you've trained them really, really well. Like it's when they get on the phone, like they know how to handle themselves, like especially with an
Yeah.
outbound sales mindset, which I think
Mm.
most agents start off with. Like you guys, a lot of your listings came from outreach, right? Not necessarily
Yeah.
inbound. So
Yeah,
like
that's right.
you
Well, we're
guys,
an independent, right?
yeah,
As an independent agency, we haven't got the brand strength that a franchise has, right? And
yeah,
so with a franchise, I would imagine, well, I mean, I've worked in franchises over the years, but people recognize the brand based on the entire network's marketing. And if you happen to be in their local area, you're going to pick up a bit of inbound stuff. Whereas, yeah, the vast majority of our leads and opportunities are outbound. They're generated by our marketing, our lead gen, our team. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Which I think is an advantage because you guys are really good at sales. Like that's one thing that I've noticed, especially with Rachel and Team Shine, and they're good on the phone. Like once they get a lead on the phone, it's like they're in the house, they're having a cup of tea with them, like it's all good from there.
Mhm.
I want to ask you this. I'm really, really curious to hear your answer on this. So you're at probably the top 1% of agents. You have your own business, you have multiple locations, you're very, very successful, been in it for 15 years. How do you evaluate risk? Because it's technically a risk working with us. Like you didn't know that we'd get you 6 listings in 6 months when you've tried 20 times before, right? It's
Yeah.
like, what was going through your head? Like, how did you weigh it out? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because especially
Yeah.
continue
Yeah.
to go down, introducing us to Team Shine and Rachel. Like, how did you weigh it out?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a good question, right? I think making the jump from being an agent to an agency principal, you start to look at risk very differently. Like you ask an agent, hey, we're going to need you to spend X amount of dollars on your branding or your lead gen, that sort of thing. When we started talking, I'm sure you probably remember, I wasn't worried about, okay, we're going to need to spend a couple of $1,000s here. How do I evaluate risk for marketing is over a period of time, I think. I'm not looking at it, what is this going to cost me this month? I'm saying,
Yeah.
okay, how much is this going to cost me for a year? And what do we realistically expect that to produce, right? And so when you start to do that, if you're not worried about the first month or the second or third month worth of marketing dollars, it kind of takes a lot of the risk out of it. I don't necessarily see it as a risk. There's certainly no more risk than putting on a new junior salesperson and saying, right, go and generate me some leads, go and knock on some doors. And so if I had to say, how do I evaluate the risk? I'm comparing it to what my options are. Right? Am I sending direct mail? Am I doing letterboxes? Am I using billboards? Am I using sweat equity? Am I going to employ somebody to go out and knock on doors, make cold calls? And what are the costs of those channels, right,
Yeah.
over a 12-month period? And so I know that if I'm going to put a junior salesperson on and pay them $50,000 or $60,000, what do I expect? And what do I know I can produce from that? And I know I've got a pretty good idea of what I expect that person to produce in terms of listings into the business, transacted listings, sales. How much money can we produce on average from a junior person who's coming into the industry? Now we've got to train them,
Yeah.
so I look at the risk of spending 6 months training somebody up, and then they decide that this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Anyone who's employed real estate salespeople, people that just give up, right? You're training them up and they go, you know what? Yeah, I've just had enough. I can't hack it. I can't put in the effort. I can't make the calls. I can't, I don't have the staying power for a career in real estate. And that happens all the time. So if I'm evaluating the risk of a new marketing method, I'm comparing it to what else I've got available to me, because we all know that we've got to market ourselves, whether it's an agency, whether it's an individual agent. You have to have some marketing out there in the marketplace. Now, if you haven't got any money, that's you knocking on doors, making phone calls.
Yeah.
If you've got a couple of sales under your belt, the best thing you can do is to start to get some lead gen happening for yourself. And look at it over a longer term. Look at, okay, I'm not going to start this and expect to get a result off the first month. I need to look at what is 12 months worth of this channel going to cost me. And then what do I expect to get from that? And what are my alternatives, right? So for me, how do I evaluate the risk of this? Obviously, we're looking at the numbers, but we're also looking at, what are our highest valued alternatives and how risky is it compared to those?
Yeah.
Now, I would say employing a human to do what you're doing for us in terms of, marketing, we can do that. I can generate, 20 appraisals a month with one person,
Yeah.
but that's pretty risky. Right? It's
Yeah.
pretty risky that they're going to burn out, that they're going to not enjoy real estate, that they're going to, we train them up and they go and start their own business a couple of years later. There's all sorts of risks with everything we do.
Yeah.
We've got risks with direct mail, for example. Like you send enough direct mail, you're gonna piss some people off, and you're gonna have some complaints with the ACMA, right? And so, really, the way I'm looking at it is compared to everything else. What do I expect from this? How much is it going to cost? Over what period of time do I expect to see a result? And then not just, what does it cost and what's the return, but also how does this stack up against all my other options?
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
when you look at what you've been able to produce for us, despite the fact that we didn't get a result in month one or month two, but we saw the green shoots and it looked promising, and I was comfortable with that. Um, when I look at the risk of continuing on, even after a couple of months of, okay, we didn't get a listing straight out of the gate. And look, some people may and go, oh, this is amazing. 4 listings in the first month, you beauty. But not everyone should expect that. And what you
Yeah.
should be
Exactly.
looking at is, okay, what are the alternatives? Do I want to get a person to help me prospect? Do I want to send direct mail, which is expensive? Direct mail is exceptionally expensive. You're looking at probably $2 a letter when you add up all the costs. If you're sending in bulk, that is. If you're sending them, if you're licking stamps yourself, you probably get it a bit cheaper than that. But
Yeah.
printing envelopes, stamps, the time invested into equipment, if you're doing it in bulk, it's expensive. I actually look at this now as pretty low risk. We're generating a healthy number of leads. We've got a pretty good idea of which ones are going to be coming on and when. And so, I don't really consider this a risky play. The greatest risk for me is that you were just going to do what everyone else did, and we were going to find somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
after you failed, right? It's not that I didn't believe that digital would work. I just needed to find the right person who'd cracked the code for the product that we're selling,
Yeah.
right? Because there's plenty of people that can market plenty of stuff online and make it work. We just, despite all the claims that all these different marketing agencies have made, we hadn't found somebody that could market us well, our service well. And you've really nailed that. So for me, it's taken the risk out of it. We're comfortable to keep spending and playing with what we're doing, playing with the budgets. And of course, as our team is still growing as well. There are more people. We're sort of rolling it out in our business, agent by agent. And as we get more and more results, as you know, Mo, we'll keep bringing more people to the table. So
So, yeah. So if someone's sitting on the fence right now, they've tried another 20 companies and they're thinking, should I go down the 21st company now? Like, what would you say to
yeah,
them?
I would say to them, if you want to have your lead gen under control, you've got to have multiple lead streams, right? You've got to have your boots on the ground. You've got to have the team generating them. You've got to have a direct mail channel that's working. You've got to have a number of different channels because different things, it hasn't always worked with what you've been doing. We've had to tinker with it. And sometimes your letters are maybe not producing. You've got to tinker with them. And maybe sometimes the salespeople are not producing, right? So you've got to have these different streams. If somebody has tried digital and they've tried 20 different marketing agencies like we have, you can't just give up on that, right? Because somebody's nailed it. It's working for someone. We see that some people are doing it, right? We know that the industry is spending this money on marketing themselves online. And so we wouldn't be spending that money if somebody wasn't making money out of it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I've kind of looked at it and gone, I know it's going to work when we find the right way of doing it. Or in this case, find somebody who knows how to do it, right? Because the reality is we've got people in our office that can market us on Facebook. You know that. But we don't have time for that. We've got other stuff that we need to be doing, right? And I imagine anyone else who's tried 20 different marketing agencies will be in the same boat. They probably have the capacity to do it in-house, but it's not going to produce the way that what we've seen you've been able to produce. So what I would say to that is you do need digital as part of your strategy. And it is possible to make it work. And the other thing that we've really noticed is that layer, and I was talking to you about this a week or two back, Mo, having that layer of digital on top of everything else that we're doing, we've noticed that quite a few people in our database already are actually choosing to respond to the ads that you've put up, and they're now being listed by us that may or may not have been missed by the team.
Yeah.
So what would I say? I'd say you need to do it. You've got to do it. And if you're looking for someone who has been able to produce, who has walked the walk, not just talk the talk, you've delivered, mate. So I'd say they should give you a call and get things rolling.